Good evening and welcome to another episode of Late Night with Lenette. I'm Lenette Peterson, your host. My guest this evening, I have a special guest this evening, former state senator from 2003 to 2009, and he was in the 14th district. That district is now in the hands of Sharon Carson, is our state senator in that district, and you've been a lobbyist since 2009, right. I believe. Welcome, Senator Bob Clegg.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. I saw you many days when I was serving on the House Judiciary.
Yep.
It seems you were always in. You were in there quite often.
Almost every day. Yes.
Yeah. And the title of my show today was "Orange is for Lobbyists." And I couldn't think of a catchy title, but that was.
But you're right.
That's your badge.
That's
the name
our badge.
Yeah. Where did Orange come about?
Orange came because somebody was, years ago, before my time, somebody was very angry that there was a lobbyist listening to his conversation and there was no way to have identified him. So they put in a bill that said that lobbyists, first they wanted them to wear an orange jacket. And it eventually went down to an orange badge so that they could always be seen and nobody would ever make that mistake again.
Yeah, orange jackets. You'd look like the pumpkin patch, you know.
Or hunting, like we were
hunting.
No
kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, my word. Now, what got you from the state Senate to a lobbyist?
Well, when I left the state Senate, I had spent 14 years between the House and the Senate. And what I had done was I ran for Congress, and I didn't make it. But I still enjoyed working in the State House and taking on problems. So somebody convinced me. The former chief of staff for Jeb Bradley as a congressman asked me if I was interested in forming a firm with them. We did, and it was nice. I had fun, so I've been there ever since.
Oh, cool. Very good. Now, what exactly does a lobbyist do? Other than stir the pot.
Yeah, basically. What a lobbyist is supposed to do is one of the things we do is anybody that's from out of state, they don't understand New Hampshire. New Hampshire is unique. It's not like Massachusetts. It's certainly not like Texas or Florida. So we first have to explain to them that we truly are a citizen legislature.
Right.
So all the things you think you can bribe them with doesn't work here.
Nope.
And the second thing we do is we teach them how to meet people, how to talk to them, and how to actually give out their information. One of the things that we demand from our clients is that honesty, because we find when we sit down with reps or even senators and you tell them the truth, if they ask you a question, you tell them the truth, usually they take it and they move forward with it. But if they find out later that you didn't give them all the truth, they hit you pretty hard. And
right.
I know we used to do it. So my job is to basically get the information to the legislators.
Very good. Now, have you ever been to the Willard Intercontinental?
No.
No. My mic just came on. It's never happened before. Hello. Rumor has it, folklore has it, that that's where the term lobbyist was first started being used by Ulysses S. Grant down in D.C. But I was doing research on lobbyists, having you on the show, and the term lobbyist was actually in the Webster's Dictionary. I think it was like 20 or 30 years before Grant's time.
Really?
So I don't. Yeah, they were using the term lobbyist before that. So I think Grant was probably the first to use it in the D.C. area. But yeah, it was interesting.
Lobbyists down in Washington, we do some stuff with people who are Washington-based, and it's a lot different than it is here. In a lot of cases, well, even in Massachusetts, you never get to actually speak to a representative or a senator directly. You always have to speak to their staff.
Really?
And that's so that there's no bribes handed back and forth.
Gotcha.
But it makes staff extremely important and extremely powerful. So if somebody from staff's not happy with you,
right,
your view never gets heard by the people who actually make the decision.
Oh, wow.
So here in New Hampshire, as you know, there is no staff.
Right. No.
So you have to do it yourself, but I think it's much more efficient that way, too. I think that when you go direct, and people will tell you, well, this is what I know, and there's been occasions where my clients haven't told me everything. And
right.
I've learned something from the reps or from the senators. So, but it is unique in that sense in New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah, and plus, with New Hampshire, not paying their state reps, state senators, basically not being paid.
Yep.
Adding staff and paying staff. I mean, why pay staff when you're not paying anyone else. You know, where's the savings there? I had one gentleman came to judiciary my last term. That was the assisted suicide bill. He sent us a thank you note. He said he had gone to the same hearing in Massachusetts, found a note on the door. He's in a wheelchair, he's paraplegic, had to travel by bus in the snow. Note on the door, no one was there. They canceled the hearing. Didn't tell anyone. Comes to New Hampshire, everyone on the House Judiciary was there to hear the gentleman's testimony. We asked him questions. I had lunch with him beforehand, and I was organizing the floor fight against the bill. So I had lunch with all the folks that were speaking against it, and he sent us a thank you note.
Because you actually serve the people.
Exactly, yeah. We were there.
And that's one of the things that happens. You know, as a lobbyist, I got a call from someone who said, geez, we understand that there's some senators and some representatives meeting on the solar industry, and we're not represented. So they hired us, and we went in and we talked to the people that were holding the meeting, and they said, geez, we've already come to an agreement. And I said, well, the problem is you left out all the residential folks.
Yeah, how can you come to an agreement?
And they said, well, it's too late to change it now because everybody agreed. I said, everybody but us. As a lobbyist, it was my job to go out and talk to everybody and say, they didn't talk to everybody. They left out all the residential folks, and that's really who you're supposed to be representing. It's nice to represent business, but you got to remember the guy back home who's trying to get a little bit of independence out of his electric bill. So we were successful finally in the House. It left the Senate. We couldn't make any changes. But when I got to the House Science and Technology Committee, and I don't know how many people back home know that there's 21 people there, sat down and said, well, wait a minute. We can't leave the residential people out, so we have to fix it. And they fixed the bill. Oh, good. And so it was good for my company, but from my perspective, it was very nice being able to help the little guys.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Now, are there any issues that you folks avoid, or
anything that I don't believe in, I refuse. I can't sit in front of a committee and convince you of something that I don't believe in. So there have been a few issues from some of our clients that we've said no. But by the same token, we represent GMO because I believe that genetically modified plant material has been around since the 50s, and if you decide suddenly to drop it, we don't have enough food to feed the people. So, there's some back and forth. There are plenty of things that you can buy that aren't GMO.
Right, yep.
And of course, the argument that we've been pushing is that on genetically modified foods, it's much smarter to have those who aren't genetically modified put a big label that says non-GMO rather than tell everybody to put GMO, because you can't. 89% of all products have some type of a GMO product in them.
Wow, yeah, that's huge.
So if you really want something that's not, we're saying just plant the sticker on that bottle instead of everything else. So those are some of the things, and then there are some legal issues that we don't get involved in, but yet we represent the legal side of everything. Mm-hmm. People have a right to sue and be compensated when they get hurt or something happens to them or somebody cheats them out of money. But there are some situations that we've said no to.
Yeah. Now, when I was doing my research on lobbyists, it came up saying, now let me get this right. You're a lobbyist for the group is called Small Business. Small Business and Small Industry Association.
That's one of our clients, but I'm the president of the Small Business Small Industry Association. I actually am partners in Legislative Solutions.
Okay, I saw that one as well.
Yeah.
Now, for some reason, a couple places I looked, they said that your small business group is a controversial group. I love it when they throw the word controversial on things.
Well, let me explain that. And I own businesses on the side. They're the Business and Industry Association typically sides with the larger employers in the state, and that's who pays them their money through their fees and everything, so we understand. So there came a period where a lot of the small business, the people that are 1 or 2, maybe 5 people in the company, came to us and said, we're not represented. BIA said, oh, we represent you too. And part of it was when they pushed the LLC bill to stop people from being able to be a limited liability company, because most of their members were corporations, and corporations pay corporate tax. Limited liability companies didn't pay that tax. So they really hurt us. So we started the Small Business, Small Industry Association. And they're the Big Industry Association is what our nickname is. They did complain at the name. The Secretary of State said there's nothing wrong. There's no way you could confuse the two.
Right, yeah.
And so we had it. But we have a lot of folks that are just, and we try to represent the little guy. We have martial artists. We have small contractors. The guys that just, they can't afford to come up and take the day off.
Oh, yeah.
And they can't afford a lobbyist. So
Yeah.
we sort of do it for free.
Yeah. Now, do lobbyists team up together on issues? I mean, do you...
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's more than one company that's involved in a situation. So in those situations, yeah, they work together. But it's very difficult because each one of their clients, everybody's client has a specific interest as well as a joint interest.
Right.
And everybody wants the upper hand. So it becomes very, very tight. It's sort of like being a parent with 6 kids.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Now, it's funny, sitting on committee, I would be looking out at the spectators, if you want to call them that. And, some of the lobbyists, would try to hide their notes and maybe so no one would look around to see who was sitting near them and, not going to share any information. And then others, would be sitting, you'd see them, they'd wave to each other and they'd sit down and would compare notes.
Right.
And it was interesting to see, who was not sharing and who was hiding.
Yeah, for most of us, we've been up there a long time. I mean, I've actually been walking the halls for 22 years now.
Right.
A lot of the lobbyists I've seen, I watched grow up. In fact, a couple of them came in and watched one person in particular watched his grandfather as Senate president.
Oh, wow.
And then he slowly grew into, when his grandfather died, he came to the State House, he worked for a lobbyist, and now he's one of the better lobbyists up there. So.
Oh, very good.
I've watched a lot of them, and it's fun to see because they come in their 20s, and now they're in their 30s. Some of them have kids, and it's kind of nice to watch them all grow.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure they have good lobbyists and bad lobbyists.
Yeah, there are some bad ones up there. There
Yeah.
are some who don't tell the truth. They purposely lie.
Yeah.
And they have a habit of sending a letter to the chair of the committee later saying, "Oh, made a mistake, sorry."
Yeah, I saw a few of those as
Yeah.
the clerk. My freshman term. Yeah, that was special.
That bothers me because you go in and you explain to everybody, and all of a sudden they leave this impression that this is
Right.
what happens. And a lot of the reps never actually get to see, in the Senate, never actually get to see that letter saying, "Oops, made a mistake."
Oh, I know. A lot of the letter, the mail, the letters, and even the blue sheets that people can sign. A lot of committee, unless you ask, a lot of committee members don't see
Right.
all that stuff. They don't bring that stuff to exec sessions. So unless you ask, hey, and who's going to ask? Oh, did anyone send any letters in? You don't usually.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
nobody does. And a
No.
lot of times the chair gets it and forgets that he should say that so-and-so told a lie again. Part of the problem I have is that the ones who constantly lie should be banned.
Right. Oh, I hear you.
I'm one of those people, even when I was in the legislature and even out, I think that you should swear them in.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying swear the legislators in, but I'm saying swear the lobbyists in and let it be under the penalty of perjury.
Oh, yeah.
You'd find
yeah.
the testimony changes quite substantially.
Yeah, oh, I hear you. Yeah, I've a few conversations that I've had with some of them up there, and they were talking. Then they were talking to a colleague, and it was a different story. Because I'd say, so what'd they talk to you about? Wait a minute. Yeah, forked tongue. It's going to catch up with you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
There's 2 or 3 up there that are
Yeah.
well known for it, but most everybody does their best to tell the truth. There are some who won't tell you that what will hurt them, but most of us, if you ask the question, you get a straight answer.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the best way to do it.
Now, what's a hot topic this go round?
Well, probably the hottest topic is expanded Medicaid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that must have, 12 lobbyists on it from different perspectives because
Oh,
you
wow.
have the hospitals, you have the insurance guys, you have doctors, nurses. I mean, everybody's involved in it.
Right.
So that's the hottest one.
Now, is your group involved with that one?
No, I'm not. I mean, my partner is involved in some stuff that has to do with the healthcare industry, but
Yeah.
I stay away from it. I have a different perspective. My partner handles the health. I handle the trial lawyers.
Oh, lucky you. Although neither one is really a fun group.
No, You know, the trial lawyers are fun because I'm on their list. I get to learn more about law than if I went to law school. And when 99% of them truly are there to help the good guy. Most of them take those cases where you know that it's BS and say, no thanks, not interested. I'm not saying they can't find somebody, but most of them are good. And so those are always the most interesting.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a number of cases. Well, the early offer, as you know,
right? Oh yeah.
I mean, that was a tough one. It still goes on a daily basis. Some of the other things we have now are liability. You know, there was a case where a grandmother took her granddaughter to the park, and in front of the swing, somebody dug a hole. Well, maintenance decided we'll just put a mat over it, and that'll be good enough. And this woman went to go pick up her granddaughter off the swing. Her leg went into the hole because I guess they figured it was okay for a kid, but it wasn't for an adult. And she ended up needing a knee replacement. And the court decided that without immunity, there would be no playground. So therefore, she had to figure out how to pay for it by herself.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's hard.
Yeah, and our argument is she had no money, so she went from being the responsibility of somebody who had insurance to the taxpayer. So we're always fighting those things. And those are hot issues every single day.
Oh, yeah.
We had the CASA the other day, and that was in the paper, where
right.
CASA wanted immunity, but we had notice of a couple of cases. One included somebody making a mistake, and 2 children went back to the parents and were used in adult porn videos.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I remember when early offer, I mean, that was a long day. That was, I remember some people were very, very emotional in that hearing. And it's tough when you're playing with people's emotions. And that's just what it is. They're playing with their emotions.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
And we still can't get information on whether it's being used or not used. It's still the most secret. We know that on the small ones, the small claims, they're refusing to put into early offer, but the large ones they won't tell us about. Never changes.
Never changes. No. Now, I'm sure an ongoing hot battle is probably Northern Pass.
Northern Pass is hot up there.
Yeah, I bet.
But the gas pipeline's even more.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants the gas pipeline.
No.
And one of the things that's getting a lot of attention now and getting very much moved towards the front is Eversource, former public service,
right,
wants to start charging for the pipeline construction. And CWP, construction work in progress. For anybody who was here during the nuclear power plants, there was a charge on there for the nuclear power plant. Everybody's saying, well, you're going to do the same thing. We thought that was found illegal by the courts. So now we're hearing about that. We don't have a dog in that fight, thankfully, other than I'm not interested in paying for any construction work for utility before it actually can provide me something in return.
Now, are you in the battle at all in the pipeline?
I'm personally in the battle in the pipeline because it goes past a piece of property I own that I think it will hurt my chances of resale.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. And now are you folks also in Northern Pass?
No, but I've personally testified in favor of Northern Pass because, again, one of the companies that we're connected to is Commercial Industrial, and we have a lot of small businesses that are saying to us, it's a great place to start, but I can't stay here because I can't afford the rates.
Right.
So if we could get hydropower down, and I realize that we have to share it with 6 states, but if we can get hydropower down to cut our stuff, a lot of these companies would stay and grow here. The reason why they're not growing in New Hampshire, don't let anybody kid you, the biggest reason is the cost of utilities.
Oh yeah, it's huge. We're like number 1 or 2 in the whole country.
Yeah.
Yeah, with cost, it's crazy. Small companies can't take it, and even the big companies, it's going to start affecting them. You'll see, projects being moved out of state, one by one. Like my husband works for BAE Systems. They're moving a whole project from here to Austin, Texas.
Right.
It should be red flag, folks.
It should be a red flag, and they get a discount.
Right.
On their rates, but it's still not enough to compete.
No. In fact, I was looking online. They had a list of the top 10 states to be in for a job, the 10 worst states to be in. Every New England state was in the top 10 worst.
Yeah.
And the number 1 state right now is Texas.
And I don't understand what the problem is. You know, the North Country made a big fuss about the view tax. They said that you're assessing the value of our homes, and you're using the beautiful view as part of the assessment, and there really shouldn't be any value to the view. It's not ours, and they won. And now they're telling us that we can't put any more poles up because it interferes in their view, and the value is the cost of their property. So I actually said in Concord a couple weeks ago that either it has a value or it doesn't, and if it has a value, we need to go back up there and retroactively charge them for the taxes that we abated because there was no view. So
I bet they really liked that.
yeah, they're not happy with me.
No, I know. But yeah, you can't have it both ways.
And the people down here, we're the ones with all of the industry, and it's, you know, I went by today, I took the long way in, and there's a lot of empty space.
Oh, yeah, the empty store frontage is just scary. Yeah.
And it's going to get worse unless we need to find an improvement.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the pipeline, you know, great, run the pipeline all through New Hampshire, but all the benefit goes to Massachusetts.
Right.
Yeah. Hello, they didn't want it. Well, we'll just stick it in New Hampshire. They won't mind.
But we have to understand too that, and as a lobbyist, I know because I talk to my clients. But when you rely too much on one method, and we're getting so that gas will be the biggest producer of power, and what happens when that gets interrupted?
Yep.
And while I don't have a problem with fracking, a lot of the gas came from fracking, and at the cost of oil now, you can't make any money fracking. So a lot of that gas is going to sit there. It's not going to be ready for us.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of people I spoke to, they heat with wood. And that's great for a small home. Yeah. You can't heat BAE with wood.
No.
That's just not going to happen, you know.
And I like to tell you that the older you get, wood's a little more problematic than it used to be.
Oh yeah. You know, who's going to cut it and split it? And even if you buy it, who's going to haul it in?
Right.
Who's going to clean out the ash? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gets to be a problem.
Right. And I have a wood furnace that is attached to all my entire house. It's all ducted and everything else, and you know, I have to ask my son-in-law, my son, hey, let's stack some wood this weekend.
Yeah. We heat with a wood stove, and my daughters cringe when they see the first load dumped in the driveway. Yeah. We buy most of ours, and we cut down a quart or two. But yeah, that's the season starts when you start stacking the green wood.
That's right.
And we have 2 driveways, and it's always dumped at the top of their driveway. So they know when the wood comes. They kind of, I didn't see it. Yeah, right. So now, how about Second Amendment rights? Is that a big thing?
Second Amendment is huge, and it's huge again this year, and we do lobby on that a lot. We have a suitability bill that went through the House. No, I'm sorry, we just sent it through the Senate. In fact, it was a good day in Senate Judiciary because Senator Pierce, who's a Democrat, who didn't like the concealed carry without licensing, changed the suitability to it, you shall issue unless somebody is prohibited either by federal statutes or state statutes. And it went through, and it went through 23-0 the other day in the Senate. So it's going over to the House. And what it'll do is it'll stop local officials from deciding who's suitable based on what they believe is suitable. Now, maybe you're suitable because you were good to them at town meeting, or maybe you weren't so good and that makes you unsuitable. Michelle Lavelle was probably the tipping point for a lot. She's the sweetest lady you could ever meet, and she's got wonderful children. She does everything you would want. I mean, and I don't mean it as an insult, but she's the real June Cleaver, only she's tough.
Right. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't want to mess with her.
No. And they said, I'm sorry, we don't consider you suitable. And I'm thinking, what's not suitable? She teaches her kids everything. I mean, her kids are doing it. So that was the final straw. So we took it to the end. And it looks like we've got some
She stirs the pot too much, I guess.
And she asks questions.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what you're supposed. An educated person asks questions.
Right.
The only dumb question is the question not asked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that one looks good, and you know, there was some hint from the governor last year that she's not interested in concealed carry without a license, but she would consider suitability to make sure that people weren't unfairly deemed unsuitable.
Yeah. I heard of this one guy. He he was turned down for his permit because he put the chief down as one of his references.
I've heard that, and I have to admit that I've done it before just to be. Well, I used to work with police canines, so I was the guy that would run and let the dog bite me. So I put down everybody that was involved in canines, and they said to me, "You can't do this."
But it's funny, no one has ever been called that I put down for a reference.
Really, I get called all the time.
Yeah, no one, and I've never been. People have used me, and I've never been called as a reference, and none of my references have ever been called.
But the thing of it is will somebody really put my name down there if they think I'm going to say to the chief, "Oh, this guy's crazy"?
Oh, exactly.
Don't give him a gun. Of course not. So
Yeah.
you're not getting anywhere. My old chief and I were friends, and he used to tell me that he felt that he had a liability, that if something went wrong, he didn't want to be liable for what happened, even though they met all the criteria, maybe didn't feel right. And he used to say to me, put something in there that takes that away from me. As long as I follow the law, I shouldn't be liable. And I think that's what we've done. And if he does feel that somebody shouldn't have it, he still has the ability to say no.
There you go.
So, but
What's the strangest topic you've had to either fight for or fight against?
Oh, I think it was antifreeze. The Humane Society wanted to grant the antifreeze manufacturers immunity from lawsuit, whether it would be environmental damage or somebody drinking it, and in return they would add a bittering agent. And I kept sitting there saying, just add the bittering agent and the animals will stop drinking it, people will stop drinking it. But, oh, by the way, if we find it in the water because you're factory, then you're still liable. We fought that 3 years in a row, and I kept saying, be a good guy and add the bittering. And finally the guy came to me the last time he lost it and said, okay, you win. We're just going to add it across the country. It was the strangest thing because they had all of these people coming out, but nobody would say to them, just add the bittering. And I said to the state legislature, order them to add the bittering.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't like to do that here, but.
Yeah. Well, we are at the end of the show.
Oh.
Yeah, it goes by quick. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hopefully everyone knows what a lobbyist does now. Thank you for tuning in. Good night and God bless.